angel of history must look this way. His eyes and mouth gape wide. His wings are stressed to their limit. He has turned to face the past. Where we see a constant chain of events, he sees only a single catastrophe incessantly piling ruin upon ruin and hurling them at his feet. He would probably like to stop, waken the dead, and correct the devastation. But a storm is blowing hard from paradise. It is so strong, he can no longer fold his wings. What we call progress is this storm. That passage was written during the first month of the Second World War by the German Jewish philosopher Walter Benjamin. His image of the angel of history was an apocalyptic one, reflective of Benjamin's Europe, overrun by the Nazi war machine. In this episode of Brows Held High, we're going to look at a film partially inspired by this image.
In 1985, a very different apocalypse was taking place. Across the world, plague had struck. 4 years earlier, public health officials first noticed a number of cases showing symptoms of pneumocystis pneumonia and Kaposi sarcoma lesions. All gay men.
At first, the disease was called the gay-related immune deficiency. Decades later, the disease would still have the stigma of a gay plague surrounding it. But as doctors learned more about the disease, they realized that anyone could be at risk. And so it was renamed Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome. AIDS.
But the idea of the gay plague stuck. Little action was being taken federally, and in a Gallup poll, 1 in 4 Americans thought AIDS to be a form of divine wrath against homosexuals. In the year 1985, a young playwright's debut play made open comparisons to America of the 80s to Germany of the 30s. Tony Kushner's A Bright Room Called Day was, upon its release, considered to be rather politically juvenile. But the playwright's feelings weren't unjustified.
As a gay man in the Reagan years, Kushner saw his people oppressed and his friends die. He had every right to be fearful.
Like Walter Benjamin, he wrote at a time of turmoil and great personal vulnerability. And also like Benjamin, Kushner would take inspiration from angels. In the years that followed, Kushner wrote his magnum opus, what he described as a gay fantasia on national themes.
Making its Broadway debut in 1993, the play went on to win multiple Tonys, the Pulitzer Prize, and to secure a place in theatrical history. The 2-part, 6-hour epic was called Angels in America. It's difficult for me to approach such a lauded, canonized work like Angels, but after signing up with the Red Ribbon Reviewers, I failed to think of a better work to tackle.
My first experience with the play came through the 2003 adaptation written for the screen by Kushner himself, released by HBO Films and directed by Hollywood legend Mike Nichols, of The Graduate fame. I was a freshman student of theater.
When I first watched the film, I watched both parts, all 6 hours, in a single night.
The story of Angels in America is complex and conglomerate, building on personal drama, political realism, and high, universe-shaking fantasy. The main action revolves around 2 couples living in New York at the height of the Reagan years. The first couple is Louis Aronson and Pryor Walter, played by Ben Schenkman and Justin Kirk. Louis is an erotic Jew bursting with liberal rhetoric, and Pryor is a wasp from old money. At first, they seem to have a loving relationship, until they crash headfirst into a global tragedy.
See?
That's just a burst blood vessel.
Not according to the best medical authorities.
What? Tell me.
KS, baby. Lesion number 1. Wine dark kiss of the angel of death.
Oh, please.
When the scene played in New York, the actor playing Pryor recalled a deafening silence when unveiling his lesion.
Louis is devastated, fearing not only that he will lose his partner to disease, but that he isn't strong enough to care for him. The second couple is Harper and Joe Pitt, played by Mary Louise Parker and Patrick Wilson. They are 2 unhappily married Mormons. Unhappy because Joe's realized that he may not want Harper in the same way that he wants others.
Ask God for help. Ask him together.
I forgot the question. Oh, yeah. God, is my husband a homo?
Stop it! Stop it! I'm warning you! Does it make any difference that I might be one thing deep within? No matter how wrong or ugly that thing is, so long as I have fought with everything I have to kill it.
Harper, unloved and trapped, fills her days by taking Valium, imagining travel to far-off places, and even meeting the dreaming Pryor in a Cocteau-inspired dream sequence. Surrounding them are gay nurse and Pryor's best friend Belize, played by Jeffrey Wright, Pryor's nurse, played by Emma Thompson, Joe's mother Hannah, played by Meryl Streep, and Joe's boss and real historical figure Roy Cohn, played by Al Pacino.
And to recap, everyone in this movie who doesn't have multiple Oscars should have. Actors watch this movie the way regular people watch porn.
The original play was written for only 8 actors, with all cast members required to play multiple roles. As director, Nichols made the wise choice of retaining this practice. So Wright plays Belize, as well as Mr. Lies, a figure who appears in Harper's Valium-fueled hallucinations. Thompson plays the nurse, as well as a homeless person in a memorable scene with Streep. And Streep plays not only Mrs. Pitt, but also a rabbi.
Please, mister, I'm a sick old rabbi facing a long ride home to the Bronx.
Wow, she's pretty good at this acting thing. She should keep it up. One of the few actors who doesn't play multiple roles is Pacino, but with his funny, despicable turn as Roy Cohn, he doesn't have to. For those unfamiliar with him, Roy Cohn is one of America's most prominent lawyers and political consultants, one of the right's greatest champions, and one of the left's most loathed villains. He rose to prominence during the McCarthy era, working for the infamous anti-communist Joseph McCarthy. He also served as one of the chief prosecutors on the hearing against Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, who were executed for spying for the Soviets. In the years that followed, he had a decades-long career as an attorney in New York City, occasionally serving as an advisor to both the Nixon and Reagan administrations. He garnered a similar reputation that Karl Rove has today, a right-wing strategist known for pissing off liberals. And with good reason. He was put under investigation several times for witness tampering, perjury, misappropriations of clients' funds, and other professional misconduct.
Also, he was gay.
You seen La Cage aux Folles?
No.
The best thing on Broadway, maybe ever.
He never came out. Given the circles he traveled with, why would he? He was also one of the early victims of AIDS, which is where he enters the play. Kushner, an openly gay liberal, makes Cohn a natural villain for a gay play, and Pacino adroitly pulls off the mind-blowing mental gymnastics that Cohn does for his own identity.
Homosexuals are not men who sleep with other men. Homosexuals are men who know nobody, and who nobody knows, who have zero clout. I have sex with men, but unlike nearly every other man of whom this is true, I bring the guy I'm screwing to the White House, and President Reagan smiles at us and shakes his hand. Roy Cohn is not a homosexual. Roy Cohn is a heterosexual man, Henry, who fucks around with guys.
The other characters are all wonderfully filled as well, all done brilliantly by the top-notch players.
And in the mouths of such a high-caliber cast, Kushner's writing glows with each sentence.
His words can turn quickly from funny
If I hadn't spent the last 4 years filleting you, I'd swear you were straight.
to tragic.
I don't understand why I'm not dead. When your heart breaks, you should die.
Erotic.
Let's stop talking. Or if you have to talk, talk dirty.
Vile.
Bowel movement and blood-red meat. This stinks. This is politics, Joe. This is the game of being alive.
Terrifying.
And in the dark, the recording angel opens its 100 eyes and snaps the spine of the Book of Life.
Biting.
Your problem is that you are so full of piping hot crap that the mention of your name draws flies.
Lyrical.
Night flight to San Francisco. Chase the moon across America.
And majestic.
An angel is a belief. With wings and arms that can carry you.
Now, not all of the roles are double cast. There's some good turns in small roles, such as James Cromwell as Roy's beleaguered doctor. Also in small roles are Simon Callow and Michael Gambon, who appear as Pryor's ancestors in a fevered hallucination which lifts the play from a personal drama with the occasional dream sequence to a cosmos-shaking epic.
There's good news before there's bad. You are prophet, seer, revelator.
Prior Walter, a relatively normal, albeit dying man ready to be forgotten by history, is chosen to be the prophet for a new covenant. He has no idea what his calling will be, or how he'll handle his burden, if he can survive this task, or even if the calling is real or simply the hallucinations of a lonely, dying man. It is this dread which gives the first part of Angels its drive. In Part 1, Millennium approaches, the world begins to fall apart around the characters. Joe comes out of the closet, hating himself for who he is. Lewis abandons Pryor, afraid of the responsibility he must take, finding some solace in Joe's arms. Harper, driven mad by her Valium addiction and her sham of a marriage to Joe, retreats into hallucination of her own personal paradise in Antarctica. Even the famous and powerful Roy Cohn succumbs to complications from AIDS, and as he lays dying, he's haunted by the ghost of a life he took. Ethel Rosenberg. And Pryor, abandoned and dying, must face the dread of knowing that something will come crashing down from the heavens.
Millennium Approaches ends with one of the grandest, most spectacular, most iconic scenes in theatrical history.
Greetings, prophets! The great work begins! The messenger has arrived!
At the risk of trivializing such a majestic moment, best cliffhanger ever.
I am Locutus of Borg. Mr. Worf. Fire.
Better than that one! Nerds.
Part 1, Millennium Approaches, won the Tony for Best Play of 1993, as well as the Pulitzer Prize. Part 2, Perestroika, debuted the following year. As the title suggests, Millennium Approaches shook with a sense of foreboding, of coming apocalypse. Part 2, Perestroika, took its name from Mikhail Gorbachev's term for sweeping change in the political landscape, coined as the Soviet Union began to dissolve. As such, the second part deals with change and how people respond to it. Joe and Lewis have entered an affair, Harper's still mad, struggling to maintain her fantasy world, and Roy's been entered into a hospital to be put under the care of Belize, which neither character likes.
I'll sue you so bad I'll have to repossess your teeth, you dim black motherfucker.
Watch yourself. You don't talk to me like that, not when I'm holding something this sharp.
Pryor, meanwhile, has decided to take up his divine duties, which are shown in a flashback.
I am the bird of America, the bald eagle, continental principality, lumen, phosphor, fluor, candle.
Be assured that I am not a Brit doing a fake American accent.
The angel shows him golden tablets, which are to be read through peepstones. If you're at all familiar with the Church of the Latter-day Saints, this story should be familiar to you. It may seem a bit odd that Tony Kushner chose Mormonism as a theological influence, especially since the Mormon community and the gay community haven't exactly gotten along.
I'm a Mormon.
I'm a homosexual.
Oh. In my church, we don't believe in homosexuals.
In my church, we don't believe in Mormons.
But this is an American fantasy, and Mormonism is a decidedly American religion. Founded in New York, flourished in Utah, steeped in the moral guardianship and city-on-the-hill outlook that colors American conservatism. It is, after all, a religion that believes the Garden of Eden was located in Missouri. It also serves as a fitting counterbalance to Kushner's own Judaism. One old world, one new world, one traditionally liberal, one traditionally conservative, and so on. But Kushner's mythology is certainly unlike either one. Kushner's angels are traditional in a certain sense, bringing back the idea of terrifying messengers rather than the helpful guardians that dotted popular culture at the time. But Kushner's angels, rather than virginal white beings strumming harps in clouds, are hypersexed.
The universe aflame with angelic ejaculate.
Oh, shit.
The heavens athrum to the seraphic rut. The fiery grapplings. The feathery joinings of the higher orders. Ecstasis in excelsis.
No comment.
Oh, wait a minute, excuse me, please. You fuck this angel?
As for Kushner's God, well, this is the entire reason for a new covenant.
Our maker, our master, grew weary of us, our songs and fornications, seeking something new. God split the world in two and made you. You think, and you imagine. Migrate, explore, and when you do, paradise itself shivers and splits. Progress, movement, shaking him. Then April 18, 1906, in that day.
April 1906, the Great San Francisco earthquake, right?
In that day, the king of the universe, he left.
Abandoned.
And did not return.
Kushner's angel, like Benjamin's angel, looks at human progress as destructive and disruptive to God.
You have driven him away. You must stop moving.
Stop moving?
You cannot understand. You can only destroy. You do not advance, you only trample.
The political subtext should be clear. The new covenant demanded by heaven, stop moving, reflects the fundamental dichotomy of American politics, change versus tradition. Those on the right work for the safety and security of tradition, while those on the left clamor for the urgency and necessity of change. Is it any surprise that our current president rallied his liberal base with precisely that word? Tony Kushner, himself a very strong liberal activist, makes it clear which side he's on.
That said, Kushner's angel acknowledges something that most left-leaning people don't talk about. Change is inherently painful.
In one of her dream sequences, Harper imagines talking to one of the Mormon pioneers who made the long trek from Ohio to Utah, showing just how painful change really is.
In your experience of the world, how do people change?
God splits the skin with a jagged thumbnail from throat to belly, then plunges a huge, filthy hand in. He grabs hold of your bloody tubes. He pulls and pulls till all your innards are yanked out. And then he stuffs them back. Dirty, tangled, torn. It's up to you to do the stitching.
But ultimately, Kushner decides that change, while painful, is the natural order of things, and every character in the play is forced to change. At the climax of the play, Pryor wrestles with the angel, and in a parallel to the story of Jacob, climbs a ladder to heaven and rejects the new covenant.
We can't just stop. We're not rocks. Progress, migration, motion is modernity. It's animate. It's what living things do. We desire.
Ending with an epilogue in 1991, after the fall of the Soviet Union, the play shows that change can happen, and it can be survived.
But for all my talk about the political message of the film, I have yet to address the personal aspect. Angels in America is one of the finest and most poignant looks at what it means to be gay in America at the end of the 20th century.
For Angel's audience, the pain of living with AIDS, of coming out of the closet, or simply living in a world that despises your existence rang all too true for them. It paints a rich and sympathetic portrait showing everything from the camp aspects to the deep self-loathing many gay men have felt in their lives.
Faggots. We're just a bad dream the real world's having, the real world's waking up.
This portrait of gay men helped the play resonate beyond America, while arguably paving the way for more and more mainstream depictions of sympathetic, well-rounded LGBT characters, giving more fully fleshed out portraits that go beyond this.
This? What, a hat? Or a brooch? A pterodactyl?
Not that we've strayed too far for that or anything.
Jack, 2,000!
It also gave a face and a story to the AIDS crisis, shaking off the stigma of the gay plague, and the idea that AIDS is divine wrath against the immoral parts of society. At least in some circles.
But the AIDS crisis continues, and the LGBT community still faces huge challenges.
The debates over marriage equality, don't ask, don't tell, and the issue of anti-gay bullying all still exist. Since 1981, AIDS has taken over 25 million worldwide, and many are still ignorant of its spread or are otherwise unwilling to stop it. Pryor's rallying cry of the play's epilogue still rings true in today's climate.
This disease will be the end of many of us, but not nearly all. And the dead will be commemorated, and we'll struggle on with the living, and we are not going away. We won't die secret deaths anymore.
So in the wake of World AIDS Day, we owe it to ourselves to learn more about the spread of HIV/AIDS, and how to prevent it.
Check out more information at worldaidsday.org and learn how you can help out in your community. As for Angels, Broadway recently saw a revival of the play done by the Signature Theatre Company under the direction of Michael Grief. But if you can't get out to New York and buy tickets, track down this excellent television adaptation distributed by HBO Films. Admittedly, some things are lost in the transfer to film. Certain aspects of the play were designed with Brechtian stagings in mind, and while Mike Nichols keeps some features of a Fremdungs effect, such as multiple castings and intentionally transparent special effects, the A effect loses some of its sting by film traditions such as on-location shooting and the Soviet montage.
You know, for once, I don't feel like explaining any of those things I just said.
But still, the story of Angels loses none of its urgency, poignancy, or ability to thought-provoke even 17 years after its debut. I don't feel bad about spoiling the plot, because ultimately it isn't about plot twists. It's about seeing the action, hearing the arguments, and finding out your own political reaction to the piece. So do yourself a favor and see it for yourselves.
For World AIDS Day, we have to remember those who have fallen. The world only spins forward, and they will be citizens. The time has come. Bye now. You are fabulous, each and every one of you, and I bless you. More life. The great work begins.
The stiffening of your penis is of no consequence.